Okay, good morning, everybody. Let's see, I'm sharing my screen, so I wanted to talk about a few things this morning. You all can see that, right? The first one is the startling information that I got from my wife yesterday. She's like on the phone with somebody that I didn't know, and she's saying, okay, yeah, I'll review the information and consider it over the weekend and call you back. I'm like, what is this? She said, it's a job offer. I'm like, oh, really? She said, yeah. And the company is a DC metro area company. In other words, Northern Virginia, DC, Maryland, thereabouts. And they have what they call hiring brackets for salaries based on years of experience. So if you have 0 to 5 years experience, your salary offer will be somewhere in between here. If you have 5 and 10, between 5 and 10 years, it'll be here. Above 10, it'll be here, etc. And the cool thing is, this prospective hiring manager said all of my wife's IT experience, including working at the help desk, qualified her for the higher bracket for a salary offer. And he literally said, with your experience, the bracket starts. In other words, the bottom salary that we will offer is $185K.
Dang.
Yeah, it's like, whoa. So, obviously there could be lots of qualifiers to that, but the important thing is to recognize that these salaries are out there, these positions are out there, and the hiring managers and HR managers are scrambling for ways to hire people. So frequently I will offer to guess that when vacancies like this must be filled, then they ramp up salary offers or their perk offers, if to give you a signing bonus or allow you to work from home or whatever, because they are in a critical need to fill that vacancy. In other words, they're going to get in trouble if they don't. So that's where we, the Cybersecurity Sensei folks, come in. If you can get yourself, again, the mindset you need, the white hat mindset, not just I'm good at technical stuff. That is not good enough to get a job in cybersecurity. You've got to have that mentality that you are there to preserve the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of your client's data. You have an interest in doing that, not just you want a job and get paid. So anyway, that's the lesson to be learned in this is, if you can get yourself that entry-level Security Plus certification and sort your resume in such a manner that it looks like you are doing cybersecurity stuff. And this is something, Parima, that works for you. I don't know if you're aware, but there is that role-based information assurance training at our agency.
Yeah.
Do you know how we ended up getting that?
No.
You can blame me.
Oh.
Because...
Thank you, Scotty.
Sure, of course. I had a rather short conversation with Sharon Kelser about, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and she was talking about role-based information assurance, like incident response. And I said, well, here's the thing. If something goes on and the security team notifies somebody to go pull a computer and preserve it and or scan it and or replace it, who do they tell? They tell the service desk. So therefore, the service desk can be considered incident responders. And Sharon's like, you know what, you're right. So she expanded the training to include all of the service desk as incident responders.
That's fair.
Well, what that also means is you can claim that in your job experience as being incident response capabilities and responsibilities the whole time you're doing service desk. Okay, so a lot of people may not think about it, and a lot of people do their resumes. I'm going to stop sharing this screen for a minute so you guys can see my hand gestures. A lot of people think that their resume is supposed to be arranged by what they did the most down to what they did the least. And that is just not the case. When you arrange your resume, like your experience blocks, the things that you want up at the top are the things that you know the hiring manager and the HR manager are looking for. You don't have to say, well, I only did this 5% of the time. No, put it up there, get yourself into the interview, and then talk about overall experience and the depth to which you did these particular things. But you want to make your resume as easy to read as possible with all of the juicy bits as high as possible in your experience blocks. Do not, especially if you're going for entry level, do not arrange it based on I did this the most down to I did this the least. Because what if you're a bagger at the supermarket? Oh, well, I bagged groceries. I, collected shopping carts. I sanitized everything. Okay, but then, oh, by the way, I also did LAN administration for the store and helped with their sales stuff to make sure that people could log in and their records were safe and, that sort of stuff. That's a big difference. So put that stuff high up and do the I collected carts in the parking lot lower. It doesn't matter just so long as the reviewers don't miss it. You don't want them to miss valuable, critical information for you. And when you're in an entry-level career field, you have probably the smallest amount, so you've got to make it the most prominent within your resume. So anyway, minor little training there.
Okay, my resume sucks.
Well, there's opportunity to have other people look at it. You can have other people look at it.
Okay.
I would be happy to. I've done it with others, but the important thing to remember is try and remember all the things that I've said about resumes and make those changes, then send it to me. Don't send it to me with, okay, I worked at a database firm and fixed databases, and no. Try your best to put your cybersecurity skills forward, then send it to me. Okay?
Are you sure? If I send it to you, you might get a very good facepalm time.
Well, I won't mention names in this group because, one of them is one of our mentees, but I had a resume that the individual had run it down to, I think it was 10 or 9.5 pitch font and expanded all the page margins, and even with all of that compaction, the resume was 7 pages long.
Whoa.
And I said, nope, I'm not reading it. And this individual was like, well, but this is my resume. And I said, it's going to kill somebody, especially if you're looking for a cybersecurity job and you are most of your experience doesn't relate. Find the stuff that relates, focus on that, move it as high as you can, and get rid of everything else. Or leave it down to one-liners. Worked here doing this, worked here doing this, worked here from this time to this time, or whatever. You don't have to put down that I ask people paper or plastic 3,000 times each day. No, you don't have to do that. So next thing I wanted to talk about was the upcoming class that I told you guys about that I'm conducting. It's this week, in fact. I am conducting a class on passwords. And this is the title. Did you guys have a chance to take a look at the slides?
No.
Okay. Oh, I'm not sharing anymore. I forgot. Doggone it.
You were sharing hand gestures.
Yes, sharing my hand gestures. Right. Okay. So this is the slide deck that I plan to use, and it's going to be this coming Thursday. But the point of all of this is to teach these people about passphrases instead of passwords. And a lot of people come from an era where they try to keep their password as short as possible because they had to play around with character substitution or whatever. Oh, well, let's make the E into a 3, or let's make the A into an @ sign, or that sort of stuff. That does not ensure good, strong passwords. The way to do it these days, according to the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, it says it's better to make it longer. So that's what I'm going to teach them this week, how to make a longer password. And going to get some ideas for passphrases, words you'll remember but not typically found together. Add numbers and special characters before, in the middle, or at the end. And then I gave them, some examples and how long it would take to, remember them, or for a computer to crack them. And then I gave them a bunch of examples that they can use. Some of them are really cute, let's see, bark, bark, good pup. Dark red flip phone. Things that people would not normally associate with a password or a passphrase. Not colder in Miami. Whatever. Just some ideas for them. And then also, what are bad passphrases to use? Your kids' names, your pets' names, etc. So, and then after that, I want to talk about dealing with malicious emails and texts, which will be the next one for this group. Also, I think you guys remember I was encouraging the team to start writing articles. I only got one draft article from Ron, and I haven't heard from anybody else, so I went out and wrote about 8 articles for these people, and I plan to use them as one-page handouts at the training session. For example, the random text scams that are going on. This passphrase sheet uses the same examples as the ones that are in the slide, so they can take them with them as they leave and use them later. What to do if you did pay a scammer. Who to contact and what to tell them. These are from the Federal Trade Commission. Big online resource list for the Federal Trade Commission and what they're called. So I thought that was a good one. Fake Geek Squad reviews. You ever gotten these? Yeah. Scammers impersonating Geek Squad. It's actually an article with the Federal Trade Commission because it's so prevalent. I'm going to talk about the best antivirus. One of the main things that I've found when I go support these customers is they load their systems up with 2 or 3 antivirus programs and hope that works. And I think the point of this is to find one that works well and then maximize it. There is no need to put on Norton and McAfee and Microsoft and Malwarebytes. You know, more doesn't necessarily mean better coverage, better protection. And then one on two-factor authentication. I figured it's worth talking about. They may not capture it right off, but it's a good place to start on why do you need two-factor authentication. So I thought that would be good. Do you guys have any other possibilities for things that we might train on? If so, put it in an article and send it to me, please. I will attribute you. And then the newsletter articles, like I said, I'm still waiting on anyone to send me articles. Ron sent me one. It was a good draft, and then I sent it back with, you know, suggestions, and I haven't heard from him since. So I think a lot of people are getting busy because of the holiday season, but I still want to start publishing these articles. So as soon as I get articles, we will turn that into an article with your name on it. And then you can put in your resume that you are an author or a technical editor. Okay? Questions, comments? Okay. Next one. I'm trying to figure out, is the day and time optimal for our webinars? We have, like I said, over 60 people in our Facebook group, and Chris and I were examining the reviews on some of the stuff that goes out there, and it looks like about 1/4 of the people who are in the group, so 15 or fewer, actually read these articles, actually read the posts that get put out there. So we may have 60 members, but 60 people don't look at everything each time. Also, we would really like to have 10 people on these morning webinars rather than 1 or 2 or 3. In the long run, the more perspectives we get and the more questions we get, the easier it is to do these webinars. But if Chris and I are trying to come up with new topics to cover each week, well, if you go out and look on our YouTube channel, we've got a couple hundred topics that we've already covered. And if you look at the view count, for example, regression testing, 10 views. Well, that is not what I would consider to be a successful recording. I would prefer to see 10,000 views. Not that I want to get money off of this, but I want these to be valuable to the viewers. So how do we make this better? How do we improve? How do we interest more people in what we have to offer here? Chris and I have both expressed interest to each other that we would like this webinar to move a little earlier on Saturday mornings, because for me it's now 7 a.m. and it goes until 8, and a lot of things that I want to do open up at 6:30 or 7, and I would like to get out to them as early as possible so that the rest of my day is still available. On the East Coast, 9 a.m. means that they'll finish up at 10, which means their mornings are basically committed every time they attend these. Is that what we want to do? And again, Chris and I are both interested in moving this a little earlier on Saturdays, but in the end, I'd love to have so many mentees that we have to split this to offer them options. That's where I want us to be. That's where I want us to arrive, so that this becomes a vibrant capability for anybody that's interested. And it doesn't just require Chris and me to come up with topics each Saturday. So we are open to ideas and suggestions. Any ideas or suggestions would be helpful. Also, how do we attract more mentees? I have a thought in mind. I'm not sure how far it's going to go, but I have a thought in mind to contact the VA and associate ourselves with any other online mentorship programs that are out there as an option for military veterans. I don't plan to do any of this for money. I do this because I love doing it, but why not help, veterans? Perhaps that is a way to do this. How do we get the word out? I've put the word out to at least 3 college campuses here in the Arizona area, and I haven't gotten a response from any of them. So it's like, okay, we'll just keep moving on. We do get pretty good response from University of the Potomac there in the DC metro area because of Dr. Nate Perry, who is the IT and cybersecurity chair for that program. He and I have known each other for 15 or more years, so he is happy to refer people to me because that means fewer people ringing his phone. And I'm like, sure, send them my way. That's how we've gotten a number of these folks. Nerman is one. He came from that program. So anywhere we can come up with, I would love to be able to, get them involved. The main reason people don't attend is that they don't know about it. And I want to help raise that awareness. We did discuss on the website or on our Facebook page security questions. I like your response, Parima. Security questions don't have to be truthful. Security questions have to be ones that you remember and ones that someone else probably won't guess. So, yeah, a lot of people are like, what? But that wasn't my dog's name. Okay, but this is just between you and the security system. They're not going to call you up and say, hey, your dog's name was Fifi, not Fido. They're not going to do that. This is just a memorization tool and a recollection tool for you. So put whatever you want to in those security questions. Just make sure that it's not something people can guess. So
I remember when I worked at Army Help, we had to ask people their security questions in order to reset their passwords.
Oh, wow.
It's some simple tricks such as, they would pick 3 random questions, but their answers would be red, white, and blue.
Right.
Nothing to do with the questions. Obviously, their thing was the questions always had to come up in order.
Right. Right. Very good. I mean, whatever works. Whatever works. Chris, if you have time or opportunity this morning, did you want to talk about your plan document that you sent out to the team?
Yes, I was just going through, just getting ready for the next not fiscal year, the year for our performances,
Yep.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, hey, what do I want to do in the next 5 years, and where do I want to see myself?
Mm-hmm.
And I just whipped up a development plan. And some of it's just from reading different USA job opportunities, what would be my next step in the grade level. And some of it was also looking at what would be equivalent to a private position or a position outside the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
And that just, I just drew one up. And why I posted, hey, I'm open for feedback on that plan. But as long as I have aim, and as long as I have something in writing that I want to try to do,
Mm-hmm.
or try to aim for, I'm not firing in the dark.
Right.
I don't have that feeling of I'm firing at something that I'm going to miss. At least I have a vision of something that I want to go after.
Right.
It's not permanent, set in stone. I can change it.
Sure.
And that's why I put on the top, hey, review this weekly, monthly, annually,
Right.
and really go into the deep part of it.
Very good. I think a lot of people, there's a phrase out there that comes to mind. It's called paralysis by analysis.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically means you spend so much time making your plans to take your first step that you never get around to taking your first step.
Correct.
And to have a plan helps you achieve that inertia that you need to become successful. I fully agree with that.
Mm-hmm. And one of the key parts I put down was, hey, this is my plan. Everybody's going to be in a different scenario than I'm going to be in. And if you look further down the replies and click down, um, I've linked this website before in the past. It's a really good website. I know some people have access issues, the Cyberseek. I also provide numbers in the DC area just based off what I did my plan off of.
Mm-hmm.
But on the Cyberseek website, Scotty, um, there's two things that are really nice tools to have. One is a heat map that shows where the hot job markets are.
Right.
And the nice part is you can click on any state you want. Like, let's click on Arizona, for example, where you live. And if you scroll down, it gives you a breakdown of what are the openings are, what are the job titles are, how it matches to NIST, and just basically certifications to openings. That's neat. It doesn't show the openings for your state. I'm wondering
Mm-hmm.
if that's something going on there. Anyways, the nicer part, and I think the more value, the data here itself is valuable. If you scroll back up and go to pathway,
Pathway.
career pathway,
Oh, yeah.
it shows you the feeder role and where you can get your foot started and how you can go all the way to advanced. So let's say IT support. You click on IT support. It'll tell you here are the job titles that you can look for, the certifications, what percentages are requesting the type of education, bachelor's degree, or if they don't need it. But more importantly, it tells you the skills that you need to have that feeder role job and what skills you need to go to add on to go to the next cybersecurity area that are in demand.
Very good.
And it's a very good guide if you're like ever lost and like, where do I start?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. And a lot of people, I think, coming from the outside, don't understand ITIL. And maybe we should have a conversation on it. It is rarely discussed, and yet it's frequently sought. Also, in the federal government, ITIL for the GS 2210 career field is almost an imperative. It's almost a mandate. If you're doing IT, you should understand what you're doing. And the ITIL is a great place to start, especially ITIL version 4, because it talks about business focus rather than service focus. And I like that. So yeah, this is a really good one, Chris. Yep, very good, very good.
One thing I do notice, it doesn't work very well on our government furnished equipment, since I'm knowing who the audience is here.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Maryland, 24,000 jobs.
23,000 department. Sorry.
There you go. Yep. So if you look at this, just looking at raw numbers, if there are 46,000 in the employed cybersecurity workforce and 24,000 job openings, that means that only 2/3 of the positions are filled in the state of Maryland. If you think about it, 46,000 employed, 24,000 job openings, which means 70,000 total cybersecurity jobs, only 46,000 of which are filled. See what I'm saying?
Hey, Scotty, the supply-demand ratio, can you hover over the little dot that has the I on it? I want to try to see if there's, click on it maybe? There we go.
Yeah, according to this, it says national average is 68%, which means there are only enough workers to fill 68% of the cybersecurity jobs that employers demand, which this bears out right here.
Mm-hmm.
In Maryland, it's 72. That sounds like what I was describing.
Yep.
So, yep. The lower something is, the better your chances of getting hired at an entry level, because the leadership and management have to start compromising in order to fill the position. And when they say compromise, that's you. That's a way to think about it. That's your foot in the door. Of course, you've got to push really hard and be successful, because Chris, I think you and I agree on this. The people who get Security Plus certifications and get themselves hired into an entry-level cybersecurity job are asked one question overall as soon as they get hired. What do you think that question is?
I don't remember what that question would be.
Okay.
Was I ever asked that question?
Well, this is when you get hired into a cybersecurity job.
Well, the actual cybersecurity job. Okay.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And the question, and I'm guessing at this, but the question is, how soon can you get your sys up? The Security Plus may get you in the door, but the CISSP will be necessary for you to be a practicing cybersecurity engineer, technician. You have to have that.
So I put CISP in my training, CISSP, not in my certifications, and I get, the past month I got 3 calls. One ended up with an interview, and the guy goes, yeah, where are you in your CISP training? I said, I'm still working with my employer, my current employer, on getting the training for it, but I'm reading those study guides and all that. He goes, come back and call me when you got it.
Yep. Yep. So
it's valuable.
That's for a practitioner job, which, I was just chatting with somebody yesterday about this, and they said, I'm planning on going hard for the cyber career field. I wanted to talk to you first. And I said, well, the absolute bare minimum is Security Plus, but the moment you get that, you should be focusing on your next certification, which will be the muscle behind the job you do. And that's the CISSP. So, and I said, even if you're wanting to supervise and manage, sure, you can work for a CISM, but a CISM builds on the CISSP. So don't think you can avoid the skills that you are taught and tested in the CISSP exam. You know? So the one thing I notice in all of this, what is it that is top of the list for all of these? CompTIA Security Plus. It is the foundational certification. It is absolutely not a destination. It is a step along the way. You can't get Security Plus and then expect to get yourself a 10, 15, 20-year career in cybersecurity with nothing else.
Hey, Scotty, something happened when you highlighted Security Plus. Can you highlight Security Plus or hover on it?
Yeah.
Same exact thing.
Yeah.
Go down to CISSP.
Okay. Advanced Security Credential demonstrates technical and managerial competence, skills, experience, and credibility. That's the difference. CISSP is like bench knowledge. I'm sorry, Security Plus is bench knowledge. CISSP is, okay, I need you to go out and manage this tool or this process or those sorts of things. Yep. And then the others, absolutely, they're helpful. CISA, great one to get, but that has to tie in with the practitioner certification. In the careers that I've seen, nestled somewhere in their job experience, it says CISSP certification. So you can't avoid it.
The Security Plus and stuff does expire, correct?
What's that?
The Security Plus and stuff, it does expire, right? Because I think.
Well, it's a larger number here, but Security Plus is foundational. It is base level. And to give you an idea, the Security Plus study guide is about this big, and the CISSP study guide is about this big.
What is this and this?
Maybe an inch thick for Security Plus and 4 inches for CISSP.
Wow.
CISSP is far more detailed and requires you to demonstrate past experience in order to get the certification.
Security Plus has 5 domains. CISSP has 7 domains.
7 used to be 9.
They knocked it down.
Yeah. Yeah. So, CISSP. Like I said, if you get yourself a Security Plus and somebody does say you're hired, you can anticipate your next highest priority will be to work nights and weekends to get your CISSP certification within the next 6 months or 12 months.
8 domains, Scotty. I'm staying corrected. 8 domains.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if so I had the CompTIA Security Plus on my resume, but I think I remember something about it expiring after 6 years if you didn't renew your certification.
Yeah, it's 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah, you get a Security Plus. It's called a CE, which means continuing education. Now, here's something that unless you sit and do the numbers, you probably won't see. You get a Security Plus with a continuing education requirement of a certain number of points every 3 years. It costs you a certain amount per year to maintain that CE, and then at the end of 3 years, they evaluate you and extend that CE for another 3 years if you've gotten the requisite number of points. So you pay by the year, and back when I examined this, which was many years ago, it was like $50 a year. So it was $150 for the 3 years. At the same time, you could just get your Security Plus and then retest 3 years later, and the exam was $150. So they got your money one way or the other. You could either continue with the education or you could retest. And it was the same price for each. So you can do it either way. Just recognize that your certification will deteriorate and become less valuable with the emerging technologies that are not covered in it. So I did an exercise when I first started getting back into this and planning to mentor. I have a Security Plus, you're going to love this, from 2007. And that Security Plus was described as certification for life. And it is. But it doesn't work for most jobs these days because they want the Security Plus CE. So yes, I have a Security Plus, but it doesn't involve anything that has emerged in the last 15 years in the cybersecurity career field. So, is it helpful? Sure. Is it really helpful? No. You got to stay current. If technology is coming up with new stuff, then you've got to come up with new stuff to use it or to protect against it. And that's the other thing that I was going to share with you, Parima, about the white hat mentality. Imagine somebody being hired as a police officer. And you go to your police academy and you learn all the laws and what you're capable of doing and how to do it and techniques and de-escalation and, firearms training and the whole 9 yards. Imagine that exact same training being used for the bad guys too. They go to bad guy academy. They go to, learn how to, beat the people that are trained at this or whatever. That's what you encounter in the cybersecurity industry, because the exact same things that are being taught to the white hats can also be used in a black hat manner against them. So the last thing you want, and this is my personal perception, the last thing you want to be identified with when you are looking for a job in cybersecurity is being what's known as a gray hat. And a gray hat is, seemed like fun, so I thought I'd give it a try. Well, the problem with that is you don't have that ethical foundation that's going to make you strong. Well, here I am again doing my hand gestures. You don't have that ethical foundation you need to convince your boss that you are a white hat. You're just a techie, which means if they do something, they park in your parking space out in the parking garage, next thing you know, you quit and you go join a APT group and start hacking back to the same people you were supporting. It happens. So they want to make sure, I would want to make sure, that I only hire somebody who is doing this for the right ethical reasons, not that they have the technical capabilities to do it. That's not enough. You've got to have that ethical drive. Or else you could be just another bad guy in training, and they're training you. Or at least that's how they might feel about it. So you always have to come across as a white hat if you really want to get hired. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And the last thing I wanted to cover before we finish up was all of these things that we're talking about for like holiday scams. It's not, it's helpful that you learn this, but it's also helpful that you learn how to take this information and speak about it to your circles of influence, your family, your neighbors, your coworkers, or whatever, so that they don't get entrapped by the same thing that you know how to avoid. take some attention to being responsible to communicate to the people around you the stuff that you've learned. That way everybody gets better and smarter. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's all I had for the moment. My wife and I are going to be jumping on the road shortly. So did you guys have anything else for me today? Cool beans. All right. Well, thank you again. Please keep talking this program up. The more people we get, the more fun it's going to be on Saturdays or whenever we decide to do it. Okay?
Sounds good.
Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful Saturday.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.